Now, I'm not going to lie, this video almost did not happen, but I think it is imperative that I get this content pushed out so you guys can take a look at this and potentially avoid a huge pitfall with your money. So what am I talking about? Well, it is going to be Metro Last Light Redux on Steam, or really any platform for that reason. I am getting the Steam page pulled up here so we can kind of walk through this together. So if you look at the Steam page for Metro Last Light Redux, it's going to have an overall rating of 93% recent positive reviews, and 87% of reviews overall, at least in English, are positive. So it's sitting at a very positive with 18,000 reviews total. Now, here is the problem. So very positive reviews. This game goes on sale quite often. It's kind of known as a very good title, right? It's something people want to play. However, in 2025, at least, this game is absolutely broken beyond repair, beyond belief even. So what I would recommend is inside the Steam page, before you purchase this, go ahead and filter by the negative reviews only. Now, as you'll see on the screen, when you filter by negative reviews only, you're going to start to see a lot of people talking about how it's broken on modern systems, despite them continuing to promote this game. Fairly technically inclined users trying several supposed solutions they found online and could not get the game working normally. Now, we're also going to talk about my experience with this, so bear with me here a few moments. But we're going to look through some of these other reviews as well. So it's a shame because I've read the books, I know the story, and I love to bits in that respect, but this game is unplayable with its instability. We keep scrolling down, we're going to see great game, but unfortunately crashes frequently, sometimes on death, sometimes randomly in the middle of a gunfight. Game itself is pretty good. Tainted and screwed by checkpoint saving system. This is kind of just like somebody being a little bit upset with the way the saves work in the game. Not the biggest deal, to be honest. This piece of crap let me play for 8 hours and would not load my save, and of course I won't ever get my money back for a defective game. Completed 75% of it according to the walkthroughs that are available online. Level guides, don't buy the game. So you kind of get like an overall theme here, right? You can start to see how people aren't too high on this game, even though it is still getting a lot of, you know, positive reviews even in the past 30 days. Now, let's go ahead and talk about my experience. So if you've been watching my channel recently, you'll know that I've been doing my game reviews, which are, they have a SWAS meter implemented. So that stands for Story, World, Action, Sound, and Style, where I rate the game on all those particular points, and I make reviews on them, right? So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, the like button, all that sort of good stuff, the YouTube jazz, Discord link down below. Make sure to go ahead and hop in there, be a part of the community. That being said, I was trying to do the same process with this game. So I had purchased Metro Last Light quite a while ago. I had not played it, right? And Steam, or the developers, I think, is who makes the decision in this particular case. They went ahead and they delisted the original titles. So you can no longer purchase Metro Last Light. You can no longer purchase Metro 2033. And unfortunately, even if you had them, you now have the Redux, and that's that. And this is an issue because I played through the Redux. Now, I have a very solid PC. I can run basically any game at, 150 plus FPS. I can play Escape from Tarkov at 100 plus FPS on every single map. Now, that may not be a big flex for you folks that have not played Escape from Tarkov. But for the folks that have played Escape from Tarkov, you'll know how good my PC is by that alone, right? So that being said, I played through the first part of Metro Last Light, and I started having issues maybe an hour and a half into the game with freezing. So what would happen is I'd be getting ready to go into a gunfight. I'd be going through some stealth mechanics in the game, just progressing through a level, that sort of stuff, and then the game would kind of hitch, and it would genuinely freeze, and I couldn't do anything for anywhere from about 5 to 25 to 30 seconds. So quite a significant freeze. Now, I looked online. This may be something I can work with. I thought, oh, you know what? Maybe they're just loading in new enemies. Maybe it's just loading the next part of the map, right? I'm sure it'll get better. I looked online, And I realized a lot of other folks were having this exact same issue, so they came up with some recommendations to turn off the advanced physics engine, lower your graphics settings, all that sort of good stuff. So I turned off the advanced physics, I went back into the game, and it seems to be performing perfectly fine. Now, this being said, this game re-released on Steam in 2014, right? So the quote-unquote Redux in 2014. It's crazy because it maxed out my system before I lowered the graphics settings. It's horrifically optimized. So that's the first issue, right? So I went in, I disabled the physics system, and I started playing through this again. It seemed to be performing decently well for the first little bit, but then it completely bricked my PC. Now, when I say it bricked my PC, I'm talking everything was non-responsive. You couldn't Alt-F4 the program. You couldn't Control-Alt-Delete to get to Task Manager. Nothing was responding on my second monitors. Everything, for all intents and purposes, just completely stopped responding on my PC. So I said, hey, you know what? So far, the game has been fantastic. The atmosphere has been great. I've enjoyed it. It's kind of like a horror game. It's a lot of fun to play through, right? So I said, I really want to play this game. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm pretty technically inclined myself, as the one reviewer mentioned as well. I literally work with tech all day, every day. It's what I do as a career currently. I know what I'm doing in some instances, right? I used to play on a crap top, optimize games to play it pretty efficiently, all that sort of good stuff. I went through all of the settings, all of the online tips I could find, everything. So I lowered the audio quality. I set frame rate limits inside of the NVIDIA control panel. I lowered basically everything in-game as low as it could possibly go to get myself to a nice and stable 144 FPS without any sort of an issue. And I was playing through the game after that, again, for roughly an hour to maybe an hour and a half without really any sort of issues. And this was split up between segments too, by the way. So it's not like memory leak was the issue or anything like that. I would play for 30-minute increments, kind of, just after work type of thing. And then after about an hour, hour and a half of gameplay, once again, I started experiencing freezes. Now, I thought to myself, well, you know what? The game's been really enjoyable so far. I've gotten quite a ways through it. I've been having a lot of fun. I'm willing to push through these freezes, even though they've been resulting in me getting killed sometimes, right, unfairly, or detected unfairly, because I literally couldn't do shit. My character just decides to stand up randomly, or, stand there randomly while the enemies are shooting at me. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to continue to play this game because it's a lot of fun. But, ladies and gentlemen, that was something of a mistake, because I, once again, experienced a bricked PC. So again, everything was non-responsive. You could not open Task Manager. You could not Alt-F4 the program. It was kind of scary for anyone with a tech background, especially when it comes to like cybersecurity and those sorts of things, to just have your system completely lock up like that. And it's something that I have not seen in any other game up to this point in my career of playing games, as somebody with over 700 games in their Steam library. So that's quite an achievement. Now, I decided to do some research on this. There's people all over the place inside the Steam reviews that are saying they had the same issues. There's people all over Reddit and other forums online saying that they had the same issues. There's people that have reinstalled Windows, reinstalled the games, everything, right? And there is simply no fix. Now, in terms of other troubleshooting, obviously I changed the in-game settings. I set frame rate caps. I made sure my system wasn't maxed out. I reinstalled the game. I completed a file validation process and tried basically everything I could to get this to work. Now, it also gets worse from there. So if somehow you manage to get beyond these technical issues and you say, you know what, breaking my PC once in a while isn't really too big of an issue, I'm going to continue to play through it. I'll just restart my PC when needed. This game's pretty cool. Here's the thing. Every so often, for seemingly no reason whatsoever, the game unbound my keybinds completely. And there were some keybinds that I just simply could not rebind unless I manually went in and bound them again inside the config file for the game. And these are important keybinds, right? It's not like we're talking about like, my quick save doesn't work or something like that. Ladies and gentlemen, the escape key did not work when playing Metro Last Light, the escape key. And you may not realize how important this is until you're trying to exit to the main menu, until you're trying to change settings, until you're trying to turn your sensitivity up, turn your sensitivity down, you know, edit graphics settings, right? It's absolutely insane how broken this game actually is in 2025. And I wish that the Steam reviews reflected it a little bit more accurately. There is no way in hell that this game should be sitting at a very positive review score, because unfortunately, on every Steam sale, there's going to be a new wave of people who decide, hey, I'm going to try Metro Last Light, right? And they have the Redux out. It looks pretty cool. I'm going to try it. And unfortunately, those people are getting conned into purchasing a non-functional game. And the real big problem with it too is that Steam really only allows 2 hours of gameplay before you can not get a refund anymore. And the issues really only start an hour and a half to 2 hours into the game. So you may be well outside your refund window by the time you actually start to have problems. Now, rest assured, I did my due diligence to make sure that this was not an issue specifically with my PC or some sort of a configuration that I had in place. I've seen people with AMD graphics cards as well as NVIDIA graphics cards having issue. At the end of the day, Metro Last Light is simply broken. There's no way around it. Now, I've also done some research to see if GOG has a playable version, because I know a lot of times they're very good with kind of restoring or reconfiguring older games to work with modern hardware. Unfortunately, the issue still seems to persist even on GOG. I'm not sure about console versions. I don't have access to any sort of a console currently that could play this game, so I didn't really research it a whole lot. Make sure to let me know down in the comments though if you're still able to play this title on console. All that being said, this is about 12 minutes of me rambling about my experience with Metro Last Light. So I usually just, jot down some notes while I'm playing through the game so I can kind of give you guys my thoughts, right? So I'll go through those notes here now because I think it's fair to still point out some of the positives the game had as well as the negatives. So there's not going to be a SWAS score or anything like that. This is going to be simple, straight to the point. So one of the big positives was that the game managed to get through the air quotations tutorial without being tedious or incredibly boring. So it's not overly hand-holdy. When they're introducing new mechanics into the game, they're doing it in a relevant way. So for example, when you're introduced to the lighter and the fact that you can burn cobwebs, it's because you're trying to get away from enemies that are chasing you, and these cobwebs are blocking your path. Now, the voice acting is incredibly well done. Not all the characters are very motivating, or captivating rather, but they fit the atmosphere perfectly. So everybody has just enough personality to be interesting. Everybody has just enough believability to fit into this setting. The atmosphere is absolutely fantastic, and it kept me tense and on the edge of my seat for, hours on end, right? So great sound effects combined with a low FOV, so your field of view inside the game, as well as diverse enemy types, is a really dangerously scary combination in my opinion. Most of the enemies inside Metro Last Light seem to prey on primal fears that humans will have. If you play through the game, you'll know exactly what I mean. So there's a lot of points in the game where you end up just being very uneasy. There's not really any jump scares or anything like that, but it does a fantastic job of setting an atmosphere where you're just on edge and having a great time. And finally, even small dialogue like guards talking is enthralling. Oftentimes, it would make me pause and listen to learn more about the world, but also the people I'm fighting. So a lot of times, the enemy guards, when they're talking, they're exposing things about each other, about the world, right? And there's a lot of world building done through dialogue that you may just miss if you don't take the time to stop and listen to it. As for the negatives, as you may have guessed by now, there's a lot of technical issues. So multiple crashes, multiple PC brick experiences, as well as freezes, and just overall not very compatible with modern hardware. If you unfortunately bought the game, or if you are thinking about buying the game, first of all, if you bought the game, let me know how your playthrough went. If you're thinking about buying the game, I highly recommend that you do not. Save your money. Spend it on one of the Stalker franchises. There's going to be a review coming out on my channel fairly soon on those. It's very likely that it's been uploaded and live already if you're watching this video, so make sure to go ahead and check that out. They are significantly better in terms of gameplay experience currently than the Metro franchise. Thank you guys all so much for watching, though. I'll see you next time.